I'm here, mate.
We're live now. Like, let's. I'll host it now, okay? So this is Andy Patterson. I've got Tommy Allen, clipboard in the background. I've got Aaron Smith lying in his bed, and I've got
Hello.
Kugan Cassius on High Film TV, who has wanted stern words with someone, and it's no me, thank fuck.
Right, Kugan, fire away. Fire away.
Where's Tommy?
I'm fucking here. What are you going to say for yourself? Speak.
What? Alright, let's talk about...
Come on then, spit it out. Come on. I'm not going tonight. Come on.
What's your fucking joke about first?
What? What are you saying?
What's your fucking joke about first?
My joke about Brian, it was a joke, yeah. What the fuck's it got to do with you anyway?
What do you mean, what's he got to do with me anyway?
What the fuck's it got to do with you? What I fucking post on Twitter?
You put it on fucking social media.
The fucking everyone, innit? Do you even fucking follow me?
If you put it on social media, it's to do with everyone, isn't it?
Do you follow me on Twitter then? What the fuck's it to do with you? What I fucking post, man? The people that know me, the people that follow me know it was a joke. Brian knows it was a joke. Brian knew about it. So shut your fucking mouth, mate. It's fucking nothing to do. This is got fuck all to do with you. I'd fuck all
you're a Do you know, Tommy, listen, let me tell you something. Do you know when I met you in Glasgow, which I don't remember?
Right, you came up to me and says you're a big lad and you felt my muscles, aye.
Right, so when I come up to you, what did I say to you? What did you say to me? Were you sucking my prick then?
No, mate, I was talking to James and you came here and spoke to us. See, James, the credible one on iPhone London, the one I like. And you came up and you said, oh, you're a big lad and you felt my muscles, eh? You looked kind of fucking pressed or something, man.
I felt your muscles.
Ah, you felt my muscles. Mind that, Andy. Andy was here. We were in press row beside you.
Well, listen, I'll be honest with you. I don't remember ever doing that.
You fucking did, you big lying cunt, you. As I say, though, mate, why would you be offended with that? It was a fucking joke. People know it was a joke. Brian knew it was a joke. Brian knew about it.
Well, listen, I just commented to you that I didn't think it was very funny.
Well, that's it. Well, a lot of people comment to me thinking it was very funny. I've got quite a dark sense of humour. I know a lot of people agree with it, man, but I think you overreacted a wee bit, did you know, no? Would you
no, not
so?
really. I didn't overreact to it. I didn't find that.
Listen, mate, I made the comment on Twitter.
I just said to you that I didn't find it funny. That was it. And then you're talking about Kugan will have his funeral soon if you don't shut up. So, was that a joke as well?
That was a fucking joke as well, mate, aye. But see, if you want to get serious about it, I'll offer you a fucking scrap so we can scrap. I like a scrap, mate. No problem at all.
No problem. No problem.
You're going to Quick Frampton.
I am going to be at Quick Frampton.
Right, mate. What we'll do is, right, we'll swap numbers and we'll sort something out. We'll go for a walk, just me and you, and we'll see who fucking walks back then, right? All right?
Listen, not a problem whatsoever.
What? Right then.
No problem whatsoever.
Right, exactly then. You can fuck off me then. Fuck off, go on. We'll swap numbers.
I'll be at Quick Frampton.
Is there anything else you want to say, mate? Do you think that you were going to come on the show and I was going to fucking shit my pants or something for you, mate, aye?
Not really, no.
Well, there you fucking go then. Well, you can fuck off now then. I've never met a fucking Sri Lankan that can fight, mate. You can fuck off, go on. I will fucking smash fuck out you. Not a problem at all.
Hard man, Tommy, isn't you?
Well, that's it, mate. If you want to fucking take it there, listen, mate, we can all laugh and joke on Twitter, right? I offered you a wee fucking charity boxing match, you know what I mean? Because I mean,
why do I want to have a charity boxing match for you?
Well, I don't know, mate. It was just, we were talking on Twitter, and I just thought I'd put that out there, so. But if you want to get serious about it, I can get serious as well, that's not a problem. I can get serious.
Hard man, Tommy. Hard man.
I'm not hard man, mate. I'm not a fighter or that.
Right, listen, can I jump in here?
Listen, mate. Fucking hell, I'm just thinking it's a bit weird that you got fucking upset about the comment.
I didn't get upset. Listen, I never got upset about it. I just didn't find it funny.
You fucking did get upset about it, mate. You did get upset. Wait 2 minutes and I'll find your comment in 2 seconds. I'll bring this up. Fucking Brian says worse shit than that on Twitter every day, man.
I didn't find it funny. That's all I said to you. I didn't find it funny. What part of it is funny?
Wait 2 seconds and I'll find your comment.
You two need to calm down a little bit. That's my personal fucking thoughts. Shit gets said, people get serious and that, but it's easily sorted out. Unless people didn't want to get sorted out.
This is a shameful attempt at a joke. You want to sort yourself out. Who does this? Right, that's what you say to me. See me, that's a bit fucking pricky to me, that, you know what I mean?
Do you know what?
That's a bit pricky.
Thomas,
Thomas.
Is it Tommy or Thomas?
My mum calls me Thomas when I've misbehaved.
Thomas.
Right.
I read your tweet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
About his car crash. I believed your tweet about his car crash.
I know you did. It was quite funny, mate. Actually, I was going to message you and let you know that I was only joking, but I was going to keep the wind up going, But
no, but listen, I don't know Brian King. Listen, I know Brian King from Twitter, and from meeting him once.
What a credible guy Brian King is.
Right, okay. Exactly. I believed your tweet.
Right.
I believed your tweet. That's why I didn't find it funny.
Right,
maybe if I knew you better, and I thought,
that's fine. You didn't hate me a prick about it, did you? Because you pretty much were a prick about it, mate.
Oh, why was I a prick about it?
I'll read the tweet again. This is a shameful attempt at a joke.
Yeah,
you want to sort yourself out. Who does this? That's been a prick, mate. That's been a prick.
It is a shameful attempt at a joke. It is a shameful attempt at a joke.
Mate, I couldn't give a fuck what you or anybody else thinks it was shameful about. It was a fucking joke. As I said, I've got that sense of humour, mate. You know what I mean? And I make no apologies for it. Okay?
Like I said, I never found it funny, and that's that.
Fine.
So
that's fine.
Can I just jump in here, guys, and say that one of the guys on the YouTube chat is saying as you guys are a pair of twats.
What, me and Tommy?
I get that quite a lot.
Yeah, you're a pair of twats. You know what the fuck am I doing?
I actually fucking quite liked you before we made Kugan. I thought you were an alright guy. I thought you were a stand-up guy, but I don't think I'm going to have to change my opinion.
Well, you don't, Tommy. You don't like me anymore because I didn't like your fucking joke.
He's winding you up, Kugan. He's winding you up, mate. Fuck's sake. He's not letting him be now. He is reeling you in. And you're fucking biting.
Listen, all I'm saying to you is, like I tweeted you, what if, okay, so that was a joke. Right. What if someone saw that and took it for face thingy and didn't go on Twitter for the next 24 hours?
Well,
what then?
To be honest, Barry Jones just fucking texts Big Brian. Oh my god, man. Come on, Kugan, that's quite funny,
Listen, we've obviously got different senses of humour. Whoever found that funny, I would never find that sort of thing funny myself.
That's fine. I know a lot of people do. I've actually got quite a bit of stick about it, mate. I'm actually feeling genuinely upset about the stick I'm getting on Twitter tonight.
Can I ask a serious question? To both of you.
To
both of you. Obviously, we're usually going to be having this weekend a set to and stuff like that. I'm going to be overseeing the contracts, and I'm wanting to make sure there's a fucking drug testing involved here.
I've got about fucking. I've got about
2 years.
I've got about 5 or 6. I've got about 5 or 6 fights that day, mate. Where the fuck am I going to fit all these in? Like half Ireland's want to kill me if they're picking Scott Quigg. Fucking hell.
Tommy, which fight was it in Glasgow that I met you at?
Bunce Gonzalez.
Bunce Gonzalez with it. Fucking Mitchell and fucking Bunce as well.
Were you with Brian King?
No, he was with me.
No, I was with Andy. We were in Press Row.
Well, listen, I don't remember it. I'm not calling you a liar and saying we never met, because obviously we did if you say we did, but I'm saying I never remember it.
You were kind of busy with your laptop at the time on your camera, but I'll tell you who was actually John.
I wouldn't remember meeting you either, to be honest, Kugan.
Helder. I know Helder's a big pal of John Slowy's, so he was giving him a lot of support that night. I think it was that night Slowy was fighting anyway.
Coog, not that you'll be able to remember, but I come and said hello to you at the Golovkin weigh-in in October, and I said we need to get you back on the boxing asylum, but I
remember that.
I was thinking different circumstances
so
from this,
to be fair. Wait a fucking minute, you remember Adam Smith, but you didn't remember me?
Yeah, well I'm the good-looking one on the asylum.
For fuck's sake, man.
Yeah, but how long ago was Bunce?
How long ago was Bunce fucking against Gonzalez?
3 years ago.
Right, Golovkin was back in October, so please, you know.
But once you meet Tommy, man, you can never fucking forget.
I don't remember ever meeting Tommy, but obviously...
I met you fucking twice, Kugan. Fuck's sake. You came up to me and you said, you're the guru, aren't you? That's what you said to me.
I didn't say that to you. I never said that to you.
You fucking did, mate. I'm only joking about that.
One little bit. I never said to you, you're the guru.
You fucking did. I'm only joking about that. You came up to me at Bunce Gonzalez and I was talking to James and you felt my muscles and said, you're a big lad. Like that, man.
Alright, I'm not disputing that either. If you said that happened, then obviously it did happen.
Coog, I'm a bit disappointed that you didn't feel my muscles in New York.
Say that again.
I'm a bit disappointed you didn't feel my muscles when I was in New York.
You should fucking feel my muscle. Right now.
This is sounding a bit fucking Youssef Mack at the moment. Can we calm it down?
The dog pound, baby. The dog pound.
Right, let's move on then, Tommy. Come on, let's ask Kugan a serious
No, that was Tommy versus Kugan this podcast was set up for, so I'm just sitting here as an arbitrator.
Yeah, it's boring now.
I know.
Alright, listen. Tommy?
What?
You're a prick.
Yeah, call him a prick.
Oh, listen, Tommy, I don't know you enough to call you a prick. I didn't call. I called you a bellend because of the joke. I don't know you well enough to call you a prick, so.
I'm not a prick, mate. I'm not a prick. You can call me a prick if you want.
No, I don't. But like I said, I didn't find your thing funny, and that was it. And
aye, that's fine. I think a wee bit of offence. A wee bit of offence. I got a wee bit upset when you.
You know what?
When you sounded like a prick when you spoke to me like
all
a
this
prick.
stuff. Do you know what I've learned from tonight? Shall I tell you what I've learned from tonight?
Brian King's dead.
I've probably learnt that I care about Brian King more than I realise.
Oh.
For fuck's sake, man.
Maybe just a good Samaritan.
Aye.
No, I genuinely believe
Brian
your thing.
King?
I genuinely believe. Do you know what? I even sent a text to someone to say Brian King was dead.
Why do you care about him so much?
I did. I'm not going to tell you who I sent it to. Right?
That's hilarious, man.
I did send it to someone and to say,
To who?
I think Brian King has passed.
To who?
Why do you care so much?
Wait, no, who did you text it to?
I'm not going to say.
Oh, come on, no.
Come on, man, spit it out, Cook.
Eddie.
No.
It's either Hearn or Tony Bellew. Or is it one of the Smith brothers?
I'll be Paul Smith, man, eh?
Oh, Bob.
Paul's reply was 3 smiley faces.
Listen, all it is, it's not something, like I said, I would never joke about something like that, to be honest with you, because your tweet was very sincere.
I know.
The way you wrote it.
I'm good at what I do, mate. I'm good at what I do.
Alright, fair enough. But it's just not the sort of thing I'd find funny, it's not something I would tweet. So.
Right. Understand that. Understand that. There's a lot of people saying that. I've had quite a lot of abuse on Twitter tonight.
I can't understand the reason why.
Genuinely. I'm quite upset, but I'm actually a lovely guy too. I didn't know how people would get think that way, didn't they?
Have I spoke to you on this podcast before?
Aye, I was on it the last time you were on, aye.
You were on this podcast the week before we got Eddie Hearn on.
That's right, aye.
You remember
A
that?
while ago.
We spoke
And
about
I was big in this podcast back yesterday.
we got on like a house on fire that night, Coogie. We were talking about Ricky Hatton and everything, man. We were pals.
Aye, we gave a bit of a hard time to start with, and it kind of pally mode after that, just chatting about other things and that.
Aye.
What you saying about Carol Froch?
Legend.
What's that?
Kugan, what did you say about Carol Froch?
Sitting with Carl Froch?
You said something about Carol Froch here when Tommy started speaking.
No, I didn't mention Carl
No.
Froch. No.
Coog, you know the pinned tweet on your profile, what's the chances of that happening in 2016?
No fucking chance.
Well, it would be fucking good though. If any man can do that, it'll be you, I reckon.
What?
Getting Eddie, Frank and Big Mick together.
Oh, aye, I tweeted you about that, Kugan, actually. Aye, that'll be a good one, that. I tell you, I'd like to also get, if you can try and manage it as well, get, what do you call him? Stewie Hall's old promoter. What do you call him? Oh, fuck.
Hobson.
Steve Goodwin.
Hobson.
Get him
No,
on.
Hobson.
He hates Hearn, so that'll be a fucking interesting watch.
No wonder Eddie and Jamie off him, didn't he? Bad days, that.
I think that two would do it. I think one probably wouldn't do it. You can make up your mind.
Frank Warman would do it, would he?
I think Frank would do it.
You think so?
Aye, but as long as he brings his laptop with the emails, though.
The only chance of it happening is if they're all in the same room at one point, like a boxer's writers' dinner,
Right.
and you were interviewing one and one was in close proximity. You could make that happen that way, but to actually physically get all of them in one place, I doubt it.
I know Hearn would do it. He's got the brass for it. So
Aye.
definitely got the brass. I don't know if Warren could actually sit there and
Eddie would wind him up, wouldn't he?
aye.
I
don't know about Maloney being there actually. I mean, what's she done?
The problem is it would turn very personal, and it would go away from subject. So it'd go away from real boxing issues, talking about potential fights and that, and it would turn into things personal and probably legal as well. So you'd have to have probably 15 lawyers sat in a room as well.
Oh God!
And
15 of them Frank's there,
Publicists.
Frank's legal team.
I tell you what you need to do, Kugan. You need to do what Sky did with HBO rip-off, face-off. You know, just get the two of them sat across a table with the chairs back to front and stuff, and you act as Johnny Nelson in the middle.
I'd love to do that,
It's the only
but
way to do
again,
You can't do that. Kugan's too fat to pass as Johnny Nelson. Come on.
Tom, I've seen a picture of you. You don't look like you're in the best of shapes yourself.
I'm fucking, mate, I'm no like, I've just fucking had a pizza there as well. I'm dinner there about 6 o'clock. Had a couple of beers and then bang,
Tom,
pizza.
do you know your profile picture?
Aye.
That's not you in the middle, is it?
That's no me in the middle, mate. No, I've got dark hair, eh?
So you're the man on the left?
No, that's me on the right, with the haymaker top on.
Yeah, fuck off.
That's me on the left, mate.
Aye, sweet dude, he's not. He's in the disco
Who's
biscuits
the man
there.
on the right?
Look at his eyes.
That's a funny story, man. We just came back from the pub there, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, eh? Met this guy in the pub, this mad Irish guy, and he's like that to me, hey, I've got disease. So right, come on, let's see them, eh? Fucking years, I'm 10-1. And they done after about half an hour, he fuck it, 10 another one. See you within half an hour, man, I was fucking ripping. Went in at the hotel, who's the first guy I bumped into? Canelo, eh? Jesus, he was getting away from me, man, there I'm right round him, eh?
Especially when they fucking love biscuits like that, man.
Beer hug, eh? Aye, good times.
Right, so there's been a wee bit of kind of twist in this fucking plot here, gentlemen. I mean,
Yeah, we're being nice now.
we're being nice to each other now. I mean, it was like fucking World War Z there.
Cookie's bottled it, obviously, hasn't he?
Well, on quick
really?
Frampton on the undercard, which is on the streets of Manchester, there's likely to be an incident. Tommy's gone.
Was he?
Yeah,
Oh
Well,
no,
that's it
his
then. That's
internet
it,
must have fucking crapped it.
that's it, folks. He's bottled it, Cougs. Cougs, you've won.
Has
Late
Tommy gone?
stoppage. Late stoppage. I think his internet. He's been problems with internet all week here, apparently.
Yeah. Stoppage win for Kugan. Cougs, last question.
Tommy's
from
very
me.
angry. I've just realised he's quite an angry man.
He is.
Listen,
He is a
Kugan,
very
I'm not
angry
going to let you into a wee secret, mate, and you should know this by now if you've spent plenty of time in Scotland. Scottish people are by naturally aggressive, angry, and severely pissed off all the time. Even when we say good morning to you, it's like a fucking death threat.
Even worse when they've had a drink.
Yep. We're like the
Kugan,
Irish. We're like the Irish without, you know. I won't get into that.
Oh, listen, let me ask you something. Who actually found Tommy's tweet hilarious?
He's back.
I never saw it, mate. I was actually, believe it or not, I was actually doing the podcast at the time there, so
He's
I
back.
didn't see it.
I found the reaction quite funny, but yeah, I won't be commenting on the actual original tweet.
Tommy, you back, mate?
Is it back?
Tommy. He's back on the call, but
Yo!
alright, there he's.
Connection's dropped, man, eh? Fucking shit signal. It's up here in Scotland, you know the crack, we've just got Wi-Fi in this year up here, eh?
He
The
says,
Wi-Fi,
he says that this is, you know, you seem like an angry guy, Tommy, but I was just saying to him that, you know, us Scottish are always angry and pissed off, and
I'm not an angry guy. If somebody confronts me, I'm quite confrontational and I'll confront them back, eh? And I get loud like that. Again, it's just my personality. Eh? I actually didn't mean. I never meant you any harm or that, Kugan. Honestly, I was just trolling a wee bit on Twitter and you bit me. So I just thought I'd have a wee bit of fun, mate. That was basically it, my man. Eh?
Alright, I said.
If you want to
It's
fucking
just-
fight with me, man, I'm telling you.
It's not my. Listen, my humour isn't that humour. That's all.
Right.
is the fight off? I
I'm
didn't
gonna
want to do a Frank Warren and print off some fight posters and the fight gets called off. You know?
If Kugan apologises, I'll let him off the hook.
Tommy,
What, mate?
I don't need to apologise, and neither do you. But there's more chance of you getting an apology than.
Then he gets sucked off by Alicia Cuthbert in 5 minutes.
Exactly, mate. I can afford that, like, so.
Kugan, do you care I was actually going to go to my bed? Actually, I was on a promising it, and you were like, chinning me up. Oh, I want on the podcast to do. So, listen, I think by way of basically me giving up on what I just gave up on, you should be getting us free access to the weigh-in for Quig Frampton when we come down. We'll be sober, like.
Yeah, righto.
Yeah,
When are you
Frampton
planning?
waiting will be open to the public anyway. So
But we're wanting backstage.
Aye. Buffy access.
we should do an interview though.
Eh? What was that?
We should do an interview. We should get all of you on IFL, 100%.
Aye.
Aye, we're all coming in, man. Fucking Adam's gone, I'm gone, Press Pass is gone, Andy. Who else?
I think Alex
Who's
is going as
Preston?
well. Paul Webb.
Oh, Paul.
Yeah,
Oh, is Paul here?
I've just been listening and not saying a lot because I can't really have much of a discussion, but I've been enjoying it.
Paul's been quiet because somebody's reported him to work about something that he said on Twitter. He's had a disciplinary.
Paul Webb. Paul Webb.
First class boxing.
You're quite interesting on Twitter, aren't you?
What does that mean?
No, it's just you're quite interesting on Twitter. I follow you, don't I?
Yeah, you do.
Me
Yeah,
and
no,
Paul are the level-headed ones.
No, I do see your tweets as they pop up, Paul. Yeah, I find you quite interesting actually.
I never seem to offend anybody on Twitter, you hear that?
I'll take interesting. I've certainly been said worse, but no, yeah, you've been following me for a little while. So, and yeah, we have met a few times, but I didn't come up and give you a big hug and ask you to feel my muscles, so it's okay.
Do you know what? Do you know 3 years ago, right? When people were first on Twitter, I used to take everyone, like even with Brian. This is how I even got to even meet Brian, where all this abuse, constant abuse, getting called this, that, and the other, blah blah blah. And I probably took it a little bit more serious. And occasionally now on Twitter, and it's only occasional. It's probably once a month. I'll probably bite to something that I shouldn't, and probably tonight was the one for January. So,
In fairness,
Well done, Tom.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to say Tommy may be our fearless podcast leader, but yeah, I did read that tweet, and I messaged Brian King on Facebook to say, "You've not been in a car crash, have you?" Because I didn't know. So yeah, I can understand why some people didn't find it very funny, but it was just a joke, and Tommy's one sick bastard. So there you go.
the problem is now, if something actually ever did happen to Brian, no one would believe it.
I know.
It'd be like the boy who cried. Yeah, boy who cried wolf. No, everyone but there. Brian's in a car crash. No, he hasn't.
He's a fucking heart attack waiting to happen as well, to you, man. Eh? So possibly could happen very soon. Eh? Big Tom's could just drop, man. Eh? Fucking hell. Understand, though, Kugan. I understand. Everybody can hear a bad day and bite. What we'll do is we'll call this a draw, mate. Are you happy with that?
We'll call it a draw, Thomas.
We'll call it a draw, mate. And I'll shake your e-hand.
Well, the thing is, I'm actually getting DMs here saying that I should be stirring the pot more here, you know. So, Kugan, you want to hear what he said about you earlier on the other night, by the way? The DM chat. Oh, I couldn't even repeat it.
You want me to tell me anything about that?
I know what we can talk about.
Yeah.
We can talk about next big fight pod.
No, we can't. Because
I've got a
I don't
few
know
things. I've got plenty to say about next big fight pod.
I have no idea who they are. I got a follow off them a day on Twitter for some reason. I didn't even know any of the guys that fucking work on there.
Listen to how.
Do you remember how this Twitter started? This Twitter account started?
Yeah, it was off the back of that Michelle Phelps thing, was it not?
No, I'll tell you how it started. I know exactly how it started. And listen, whoever runs the site, I'm not going to say anything about, because listen, they've done it, and their thing gets on Twitter, things get retweeted a lot of times. But that site was originally Frochgroves 2, right?
Right.
It was that was the original account. So obviously, whoever set that account up, because Frochgroves, the magnitude of the bill was so big, it got loads of followers. So he had 20, 30,000 followers, just people, and he was only promoting, if it was the same person, he was only promoting that fight. So obviously, it built up that many followers. When Frochgroves 2 was over, obviously he had an account there with X amount of followers, but the fight's over. So then as far as I know, this is from what I can see, he's changed it over to the next big fight, and then that's been the Twitter account ever since. But I'm not going to knock anyone who's doing a podcast or anything, but really, the next fight, whatever, they should not have changed their name over that. But
No.
they would.
I can see. I understand the reason why you turned over, because obviously the names kind of the names are almost practically the same, basically. But what I was going to ask you, by the way, is Tony Bellew had a reckoning or something like that, because he seems to be coming across as totally different nowadays.
I like Bomber these days. Bomber's good on me.
Do you know what? It's a bit the appeal about Tony Bellew outside of the ring was that. Well, after people hated him and after people didn't. But at the moment, every pre-fight build up to everything, he's kind of like a little bit more, I don't know, less bothered, less mellowed, doesn't get into them sort of...
There's something passive about him nowadays.
Very passive, very passive. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because, like I said, part of the appeal about Tony Bellew was that he was that outspoken. So I suppose in the right fight, it could change. But
that's what Donny says to us as well, actually, because we didn't need Tony to be like this nowadays, because, you know, without him, there would be no Bellew the Week segment, so we need him to be a bit more, you know, outspoken and stuff like that. I might need to call it the Tony Award, I might have to rename it or something, I don't know. Yeah, by the way, cheers for asking him, by the way, Kugan, but I think you asked him at the wrong time. You asked him at the wrong time, mate.
Maybe. But you know who's the same? Derek Chisora. Half the appeal about Derek Chisora was that he was a bit of a fucking fruitcake outside of the ring. And then he started, I don't know, when he never started talking like he used to talk and doing the things he used to talk, and half that appeal gets lost. So, but then, I don't know, should you be like that, should you not be like that? I don't know, I prefer it when boxers are like that.
Is it a coincidence that they acted this way just when they were trying to make a name for themselves? I think that's obviously got a lot to do with it, and that they're trying to get themselves out there, weren't they?
Yeah, but Kugan, do you not think that in a way that that's not your partly responsible for it, but with the, you know, like with the Prince Patel phenomenon, you know, there's going to be a lot of fighters who have seen that and gone, right, well, if I'm an absolute knobhead on an interview with yourself or someone else like you, that you're going to get a lot of attention. I'm not saying that's what Bellew and that have done. I'm just saying that fighters in general are trying to create like this big, fake, like bad guy persona, and Patel did it. And as much as everyone takes the mick, he's become a big name.
A FUD, that's what he is.
Yeah, but 100%, because you know that original interview with Patel, right? The first one he done after his pro debut.
Was that the one he was
right?
like, he was jostling someone behind the scenes or something?
Yeah, and he was on about his fucking 12 inches of greatness and all that shit. Yeah.
Crap, man.
Right, okay. If that interview had been a routine post-fight interview and lasted about 2 or 3 minutes, we will not be talking about Prince Patel now. That interview, I don't care what anyone says, that interview got him signed by Frank Warren.
Yep.
And his name's probably known more than 60-70% of boxers out there. And he's had about 4 fights, and he's a flyweight.
You know what? I would love to put him in with fucking Roman Gonzalez like tomorrow, because Gonzalez would drop him like liquid. And early doors day, I mean, Gonzalez would actually erase him whenever he wanted to, actually, by any method he wanted.
Do you know the Gonzalez story? Do you know that video he done, Gonzalez, about Patel?
No.
Did you ever wonder how that happened?
Yeah.
Do you know how it happened or not?
No, I saw the video, but I didn't know what the background was to it.
So, when Gonzalez was fighting Brian Valori, the night before the fight, no, this was the night before the weigh-in, I was out with Gonzalez's team in New York, and his manager, Carlos, said to me, who are the flyweights in England? And I said, the most ranked one, you probably, I don't even know if you've heard of him, but the most ranked one and the one in any sort of position to possibly ever challenge is probably Satchel, which is right, isn't it? Because he's the one.
Satchel.
I'm not saying he's the biggest name. I'm saying that he's one European champion, etc., etc. So I said, and I don't think that they didn't know about Satchel. They knew about Paul Butler, right? Because Gonzalez is follow Paul Butler. That's the truth. And then I thought to myself, I said, do you know what? The most talked about one in the country is a guy called Prince Patel. Obviously, they didn't know who he was at the time. And I showed them the video, the whole team, the video of that video we're talking about. And they couldn't believe it. Like half of them, obviously, they don't understand English. Some like their team, and Gonzalez doesn't talk and understand English, but his manager was showing him the video and translating everything he was saying in the video, and they found it hilarious and funny.
I think.
And they was like,
I think it's no Patel. It's the most well-known flyweight in the UK. It's Uzi Ahmed. Got to be. Anybody can walk into a ring like that and get erased like that. It's got to be in everybody's memories.
Yeah, but like I said, it's going back.
As an active fighter now, when's the last? I mean, does he even fight still?
Aye, he's still ranked. I think he fought a couple of weeks back actually. I think he drew.
You really?
Aye.
Well, I didn't know that.
He's been fighting his vocal cords for about 10 years.
Aye. You know, I'll tell you what, Eddie Hearn will be happy seeing you didn't big up Charlie Edwards there.
Say that again.
I said Eddie Hearn will be happy he didn't bring up Charlie Edwards.
Yeah, but I just knew he'd have more talk about Patel more than anything, and they found that was their idea to talk about Patel.
Was it?
They just, I said to them that you'd probably get more of a response if Gonzalez was talking about Patel, and they can't do anything adding about Prince Patel in that video.
So not that this discussion's got all serious now, but one question I wanted to ask you, which I've never actually asked you on Twitter, was, when the whole blow up with Tyson Fury's comments and things that people have said in your videos, do you ever not worry about it? But like when Billy Joe made comments about like the Eubanks and Brighton football ground and stuff like that.
That horrible cow, what's her name? I agreed with him actually. They made the comments there about her. What's her name? Katie fucking, what's her name?
Katie Hopkins, yeah.
Her face looks like a candle that's been melting for like a fucking fortnight.
But do you ever sort of worry about, like, not the repercussions of it, but obviously you've seen what's happened in the comments of some of the interviews that you've done, and think that obviously fighters like being interviewed by you for a reason, but do you ever think about filtering the stuff more or not?
You listen, with Billy Joe Saunders, if it wasn't for me, Billy Joe Saunders probably may not even have a fucking a license with the board. I've cut so much stuff out of Billy Joe's interviews before, right? And I've told him as well, not because Billy Joe's asked me to cut it out, because I've cut it out to save him from himself, because he doesn't give a fuck about what he says. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean he just doesn't care. So he'll talk exactly how he would talk off camera as he would on camera, which is you could look at it as half the problem. But I've had to cut over the last 4 years many things with Billy Joe, and the stuff that I've left in, if you think that's bad, the stuff that I've not had to cut out, but I've chose to cut out, has saved Billy Joe from any more backlash. Because, like I said, there is a thing where you have to be PC with certain things, but same with Tyson Fury in a way. Billy Joe Saunders, they just talk how they would normally talk. But with Tyson Fury, I've always texted Tyson Fury after interviews. After that one that he'd done in Dusseldorf, which went on for about 50-something minutes, for 2 weeks, I must have sent him about 2 or 3 different texts and said, and I saw him in that time, I said, do you want that video taken down? Because if the video goes down, half the problem's eliminated. But he didn't want it taken down. He said not to take it down. So ultimately, if a boxer says something on camera and they don't want it on there, we don't think, oh no, fuck you, you've already said it, we're leaving it on there, because that's not really the way you should do things. But he didn't want to. Any interview you see with a boxer on there, regardless of what they've said, they have wanted that interview on there. There's no, and they've had the options to take it off, to edit it, blah 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 blah. It's on there because they want it on there. They're grown men. They're not children. They know they know if they want something on there or not. And same with Tyson Fury. Every video I've ever done with Tyson Fury, and in fact, Tyson Fury is probably the only one of the fighters that he's never asked for anything to be cut, and I've never cut anything out of Tyson Fury's interviews.
Have you ever had to cut anything out of Frank or Eddie's?
Yeah.
I bet you had the legal letters actually in an envelope, but ready to hand to you as well, too. Yeah?
No, things are different now. I mean, we did have a problem before, about 2 or 3 years ago, and everything. But I think it was more of the case of we'd go to one, and even though the response option was there for whoever, they chose not to take it or they didn't do it. So it looked like, oh, you're doing, like, listen, we had a problem with the McGuigans, right? We had a problem with the McGuigans, which is now all been sorted out. It has been since the summer, thankfully. And it was kind of like we're doing all these things about Quig and all these stories with Hearn. Before the fight was made, there was constant things, constant things going one way from Matchroom, from Hearn, from Quig, from Gallagher, blah, blah, blah. And we weren't able to get a response because we had a few issues with our relationship with McGuigan. But now that's been resolved, and it has been resolved since Frampton fought Gonzalez in the summer. Since then it's been resolved. It'll be an even playing field now, because if one says one, we know we have to get the response back, otherwise it looks like we're siding or being biased towards one camp. But if you noticed, obviously, with this thing with Warren and Hearn, and even Peter Fury as well, like, I couldn't get up to Peter Fury before Christmas. It was Christmas Eve when all these videos were going out. But I still got Peter Fury on the phone and to get his side of things. Otherwise, it's just kind of like it comes one way from Hearn or comes one way from Warren and blah, blah, blah. So everyone there has got a right, whoever it is, has got a right to respond to whatever's being said. And I think that's the difference now between Hearn and Warren. They kind of accept that, right, Hearn said his bit. Now, as long as Warren gets to say his bit, that's okay. So
did Warren take the feedback that George should be thrown on more interviews or front of house with Warren stuff? Because he did come across really well in that interview, and sometimes with other members of the Warren family, when you see them at presses and interviews, you just think, it just doesn't seem to work very well. But I thought George did a really good job in that interview.
Yeah, I thought, listen, George has always spoke like that, though. Like, I mean, we haven't interviewed George as much as whatever, but that's not down to us not interviewing, and it's just because George is really not really seen at a lot of things. You don't see George at a lot of press conferences and things like that, and it's only when I have a chance to go to the office and things like that. And, but any interview you see with George, you'll see that he speaks very well, and he, I have suggested to them before the other day that, George should be talking about, because George, like that situation regarding the pay-per-view and everything, George had been dealing with it for the last 7-8 months. So George was in a better position to talk about that than Frank was. Just because Frank's the head of the whatever doesn't mean necessarily that he's going to know everything what George has been discussing with whoever for the last 7-8 months. So it was I suggested to George that he sat in on the interview, because I don't think that Frank probably wouldn't have been able to explain that. He might know everything George has said, but he probably wouldn't have been able to explain it as well as George did. So, yeah, he should be more involved, definitely, because he does speak well and he knows what he's talking about. So.
And final question before I go back to bed. Brook, Khan, from what you know, because we know you know, are we close? Are we far away? Where are we?
We're far away.
Far away.
We are. I think we are. I still think we are far away.
Can't even talk to him.
It is more positive now than it was, say, this time last year, because Khan's running out of options for a start. Pacquiao fight is now gone. Mayweather fight. These are not in his eye line for this year now. So it's a case of where the biggest fights are, and for Khan now, Brook is up there with the biggest fights available to him. So I think it has. Listen, they have been talking. Don't think they don't talk. Hearn does talk to their camp, and they do converse about this, but I do think it's a little bit way off. And Hearn believes that it can happen, can or will happen in the summer, but I don't know. I'm not 100% convinced. It will all depend on who Khan fights next as well, because I'm assuming that obviously Brook's going to fight Kevin Bizier for his mandatory. I'm assuming that Khan will fight again as well. March, April time. So depending on how that goes. But it is more positive now, but I don't think it's nothing at the moment to be like, when this Quigg Frampton thing, there did come a point of the Quigg Frampton, like before the fight got made, there was a point where it was like, no, this is going to happen now. After these things have been sorted out, these, co-promotion things have been sorted out, there did come a point where probably three months before the fight was made, where this fight was a genuine possibility. I don't think we haven't got to that stage with Brook Khan yet. I think that you'll have to wait until the end of the first part of, like the first third of the year, before we get to that stage. But it is more positive now than before, but depends on how positive you believe it was before.
I've got a question, Cook. Did you get a Christmas card for Gene Couch?
What is her fucking problem?
I was sitting watching this a couple of weeks ago. I just said to myself, she's going to be in the fucking piss, man.
Do you know, you won't know this yet, but before IFL even started, I was very good friends with Jane. Like, honestly, because we had a few friends in common, and I used to be in Bristol quite often. I used to always be around. This is before IFL was ever even talks about anything to do with that. I was friends with Jane Couch. Then when we started IFL, which was iFilm London back then, Jane introduced me to a few people in boxing. I went with her to the prize fighter when Rocky Fielding won it. That's where I first met Eddie Hearn. She introduced me to 2 or 3 other people in boxing, like Dave Caldwell, who helped a lot when we first started. But I've never said different. I've said that, and then since then, that was 2010, 11. She started her own channel, which we knew nothing about. Just looked on YouTube one day, see that she started her own channel. Fair enough. And then 2011 summer, I was in New York on holiday. She fell out of me on Twitter for nothing, absolute nothing. I didn't do anything, didn't say anything, she just fell out with me, literally just like that. And then since then, I don't know. The other day, I don't really know what that was about. It was late night. It was, I think, in the interview with Tyson Fury, Fury mentioned, all Fury said was, did you take over from Jane Couch? And I said, no, we started our channel before Jane Couch did, which is the truth.
Yeah.
And that's not a lie. You can go on YouTube and see when the channels were started. Our one was started a few months before her, so I wasn't lying about that. And then she got on one the other day, and I don't know.
Thing is though, Buncey dived on it again though, and I thought
he's a prick for that, man. He tried to jump in there and stir some shit, didn't he?
Because I thought you and him were better.
Weirdly enough, right, that night, I'd come home from Dusseldorf, right, for one day, and I was going. This was the day before the Fury weigh-in, so I come home Wednesday night, and then this was on the Thursday. This was all happening on the Thursday. The Friday morning, I got on the plane at London City Airport, going to Dusseldorf, and Buncey was on the flight, and it was only one of them little propeller planes with about 15, 20 people. And I looked over, waiting for the plane, and fucking Buncey's there. So I've gone up to, like, he's come over and he's gone, like, you know, what was all that about? I said, Steve, I said, we're having a thing with Jane Couch, right? You weren't tagged in any tweets. Why did you get involved in it? He went, well, you know, he said he didn't think anything of it. He was just saying, I think his tweet was something like, the Queen of Boxing has spoken and stuff. I just said there was no need for it, because all that sounds to me is, it's like with anyone, if you get involved in it, it's kind of like you're then siding with that person. And I just didn't see the point of why Bunce had to be involved in that. And I said that to him. He got into a big thing with James on Twitter on the DMs. If you'd seen the DMs that James and Bunce were sending each other, they were fucking hilarious. They were like, James was going at it with Bunce on the DMs, because I got to Dusseldorf then in the morning, and then James has showed me a massive list of fucking DMs that he had with Bunce. And honestly, it was so funny. And then when we got to the weigh-in, James and Bunce had a little chat and sorted it out and everything, and blah blah blah. So, but I don't know.
The guy's a bit a weirdo. See, I spoke to Steve on and off for years. I spoke to him at shows. I spoke to him quite a lot at line. See, when the Satanta actually went off air, he came on a couple of my websites, you know, with a petition that tried to get his sell back on TV. We helped him out, man, because I thought once he was good on the telly. Then after we interviewed Eddie Hearn, they just started fucking attacking us, saying, and the interview was shit, man, it shouldn't have been any longer than 7.5 minutes. So there was just no need for it, eh? I think the guy's a complete weirdo, like, I think he's lost the plot.
I think he actually blocked me for Twitter actually for asking how many fucking sugars Colin Murray took in his tea.
He said, what did he say? He says that we started abusing him. It was like, you got to a fanny, didn't he?
Aye.
I've not forgiven him for when I was tweeting about that show, and then he tweeted saying that it was Foz that we said you need to follow freelance Foz because he's keeping up with what's going on. And I was like, that was me, not Foz, and then he didn't reply, so never forgiven him for that.
You know what? With Buncey, we had a thing. I don't know if you remember. We about 3 years ago where we ended up. We did a video at York Hall where he was saying, about the coverage thing and all that stuff, and I was like, but it's different now because ultimately we actually like me and James work for Box Nation. We're actually on the same fucking team. Like there's. You know, I shouldn't be arguing or bickering with someone who works at Box Nation. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, we've got our little half-hour thing on Box Nation. He's got the flagship show on Box Nation. So I don't see why there should be ever an issue. I don't really think there is an issue. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't know whether, you know, whenever I've spoke to him before, he's been fine and everything's been thingy, but just occasionally on Twitter.
He doesn't like you, mate. He doesn't like you.
Well, listen, he hasn't said that to me. If that's his feeling, then that's his feeling. But
it's quite obvious, man. I don't know what I mean.
It's not. The thing is, I don't think it's not you. It's not you in particular. Like I said, we had this whole thing about when just certain types of people who don't like what you do and don't like what Michelle does and don't like what anyone online does.
Jealousy, man. They're just not with the times, and it's a lot of it's jealousy. They're not with the times.
Do you know what? Do you know? I don't know if you saw, there was an article, I can't think of his name, Mark, in Boxing Monthly recently about the Mark Butcher, that's it. And like everyone was tweeting about this article, and I haven't read the article.
There's a bit of people on Twitter and stuff like that, Twitter warriors or something.
I thought it was on about people basically got an iPad and, you know, can fill an accreditation form in and then turn up at weigh-ins and shows and that. I thought it was a decent article, to be fair. Yeah,
listen, I thought, after reading it, I thought it was a very, very good article. But before I'd read it, obviously people were tweeting me and saying, you know, he's having a dig at blah, blah, blah. And then he you know, whoever run I think it was him or whoever on the Boxing Monthly Twitter said, look, this ain't aimed at you, but this is aimed at other people that go there. When I read it, I kind of understood it because the point of it was, you know, there doesn't seem to be sort of any sort of criteria to be able to attend boxing press conferences. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong or right because that's kind of how we started off, and in a way, we are under that bracket. But I think that the thing that pisses me off, this is the only thing that fucks me off about the other people. Listen, everyone's entitled to do whatever they want to do. If someone gets up in the morning, wants to go and buy themselves a camera and give it a go and blah, 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 then fair play to them. It's not for me to turn around and say, you shouldn't be doing this. But you can't. If you're gonna do it, you got to do it. You can't fucking turn up to when fucking Froch fights. You can't just turn up to when Haye fights. You can't just turn up to when Khan fights or Joshua fights. And my only swipe about it is that I only see certain amount of people at these events. So the rest of the year, no one's interested. But they want to suck off whoever else is there because they're big names. When Eubank's fighting, you'll see the same people there, and it goes along. That's my only swipe with it. If you're going to do it, do it. You don't
have you not noticed though the volume of people? Because I mean, I think the first time I saw you at a presser when it would have been a couple of years ago in Liverpool, and there was local journalists, a few of the online lot like me, and then obviously yourself. Now, I mean, even at small stuff, like I remember I went to the Brook, the one that fight that got bin, that was the Brook fight in March earlier this year. The one they had at like the Sheffield Town Hall. Yeah, that is Sheffield Town Hall, and I always think whenever I go, if you go and interview someone like Eddie or the main fight, I'll sit and let all the nationals and let all the papers go, and then you get them at the end. But now there's like, it is true, there's like 5 or 6 people you get with the most basic camera, or some people, like you say, just filming stuff on their phones or their iPads. And like I said, if I was a promoter or a fighter, part of me would just think I can't be bothered to talk to these people.
But the thing is, you see with like Eddie, right? Eddie will listen, right or wrong. That's up for people to debate us. You know, Eddie will sit there and Eddie will talk to everyone. Yeah?
I think that's fair enough.
He'll do it with everyone. And listen, iPhone, iPad, camera, whatever. He will speak. He will sit there until he's literally spoken to everyone. And Hearn's always done that, right? And a lot of the other people are the same. Some of the fighters don't have the time to do it because they've got lives on Sky and other, you know, the nationals, and they've got set things they have to do. They haven't got time to do it. But a lot of them, if they're given the time, they'll sit there and do it, you know, the whole way through. Now, every event we go to now, say like the Joshua White build-up. I mean, 5 or 6 people. There was about fucking 15, 16 different, you know, internet people. And like I said, I'm not knocking none of them because I'm in no position to knock none of them because, you know, whoever wants to give it a go. Do you know how many people have said to me in the past, and a lot of people that have started now, and said, I'll tell you who's good. I do like him. You see that little kid, the Scouse kid, PT Boxing?
Yeah.
That kid, right, I remember at the Campbell Coil build-up months and months ago, he come up to me and he said to me, have you got any advice about, you know, I want to start my own YouTube thing and blah, blah, blah. And it's hard for me to turn around and go give people advice because the advice is graft your bollocks off for 4 years, don't earn any money, you know, go and cover these things fucking every day, and hopefully something will come of it. That's the advice that I would give to people, which is shit advice because that's not really telling them nothing. But if people think they can get up,
no, that's giving them a reality.
But that is the reality of it, because unless someone wants to do that, which is what we done, like started in the back end of 2010/2011, earn no money. Can you imagine this? Yeah, 4 or 5 days a week, right? Going to film things, and obviously as that 4 years was progressing, we were doing more and more and more. Earning no money. When I say no money, listen, having your expenses paid isn't getting paid, right? If you've got a job, right, and someone says to you, right, okay, you're not going to get paid, but we'll cover your travel and we'll cover a hotel. Is that a job? Are you getting paid?
It's not going in your pocket, is it?
No, it's not. But this is how it was for ages, and that's not a knock for anyone because Eddie Hearn, etc., Frank Warren, they done this, and it helped us do it without being out of pocket. So I could, and James could go and travel to shows. Don't forget, we get very few London shows now. Everything's fucking up north based. You know, I'd say 70% of the shows in a year now are up north. You know, it's very rare that we get, you know, a clout of London shows that happen, you know, in a month. So that enabled us to not be out of pocket, because that's all I was interested in and James was interested in, that we were able to go and cover shows and not be out of pocket. Because if we're having to spend, but don't forget, when we first started, this is what I was doing. I'd go to Liverpool. I remember going to Liverpool for Cleverly Bellew, right? I was there all week. It cost me nearly fucking 800 quid, right? I stayed there for 5 nights, me and a mate of mine who helped me film. Drove up there, drove back. That was 100 quid. The hotels, blah, blah, blah. I did 800 quid that week. I spent that myself. So when you look at that and you think, all right, 800 quid you've just done in a week there covering Cleverly Bellew. Where the fuck's that coming back from?
Yeah, but to be fair, everyone has to start somewhere, and obviously I'm assuming you worked hard to build a few quid up so you could enable you to spend that money. But people like myself and Paul, to a larger extent, I've tried covering shows from a written perspective, no interviews. But when you're working full time like Paul and myself are, I mean, I've sat next to you and James at David Price against Thompson #1 on a Maloney show. I remember that. Like, and I've been to a Hull on a Saturday night in the Ice Arena when Coyle fought Brizuela, kind of thing. And it is difficult because, you know, you've got to balance with work. You can't make every show. Then one summer I was working a lot and I missed a few shows, and then I came, you know, wanted to come back in the winter, kind of thing, back on the radar, and it was almost like missed a boat, you know, because Eddie was growing it, especially the Sky shows, at such a rate that, as you say, all these new people coming along, and you get busted down the old accreditation list, to be fair.
Yeah, but yeah, of course. But when we, like I said, when we first started, when I'm using that Cleverly Bellew for example, it was kind of like, if there was an event that went on, right, I'll give you an example. Chisora when he fought Klitschko, right? Now, that's probably the biggest event that we didn't go to, that we regret not going to, but we didn't have the budget, we didn't have the money then to go and spend a week in Germany, because at that point, there was no one helping us. So that was the biggest thing that we missed. I mean, fucking hell, that riot after the fucking fight with Haye and that, I mean, we missed that, but we only missed it.
It could have been your tripod.
Could have been my tripod, yeah. Fucking had it on eBay. But, you know, but that event now, we didn't have the money to go, because it's not cheap. Listen, Dusseldorf, right, is an hour away on the plane. But Dusseldorf cost us $1,000, like that week. Like the hotels, the multiple flights. We'd already booked loads of flights previously for the 24th of October. We lost out on a load of there, but Dusseldorf cost us roughly about £1,000 to cover that for the week. Now, it was the same back in Germany when Klitschko fought Chisora. We couldn't afford it back then, and it was like, you know, but that's how it was. And then it got to a point where, if the promoters weren't helping us covering these expenses, we wouldn't be going to them, because, you know, and a lot of them trips to America, the first trips we were doing, I had to pay for them myself. If I didn't pay for them myself, then we're not going, you know. It's different now, because since last year, we've had the aid of sponsors and blah, blah. And I know people get the ump and fucking tweet us and go, oh, that fucking ad at the start, the fucking, you know, with, you know, whoever we're doing the ads with. But that enables us to actually keep going and not make this any sort of subscription thing. Because what do people want? Do they want to just fucking sit through 20 seconds of adverts and just fucking get on with it? And that ain't a big thing. I know it's a bit annoying, but that enables us to be able to keep doing what we're doing. So
hey, Sky Sports get away with doing subscription pay-per-view with adverts.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. First of all, Kugan, first thing is first. Are you smoking some Marrakesh here?
No, look.
What is it? It's a cigar. Calf creme, so they're quite nice actually, the mild ones. Going to ask, I don't know if you've asked Eddie this question, but I want you to ask him if
hang on. Can I just say one thing? She called me a drug addict as well.
Who?
Couch.
That's right, aye.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I ran with that tonight, aye.
Kurt's asked for a response on that one. I want you to ask Eddie Hearn this question about the regular Sky shows. Regardless of how much money he's making, does he think that the boxing that's been on show recently on some of these regular Sky shows has been value for money for subscribers? Because I know a few of the guys are pissed off at how come it just seems to be that probably the more decent fights or more good fights are getting put on the pay-per-view.
Eubank Jetta.
Yeah, alright.
Yeah,
okay,
I
that,
know that one,
that,
but
that
the thing
could have
is,
been a disaster.
the Birmingham show, for instance, Newcastle.
Yeah, listen, I think we've been there before with this. What you got to remember is, as well, when people, when this pay-per-view thing, I mean, listen, fucking hell, we're gonna, the discussion about this will come up every time a pay-per-view is announced. But people want me to fucking go on to Eddie, slag the pay-per-view off, blah blah blah, tell him, you know, it shouldn't be on pay-per-view, rah, rah, rah. People don't understand. It's not easy, right, for me to sit there and attack something. You can be diplomatic about stuff. It's like people were going to me about Warren, going, "Oh, you should have pressed him more on why Saunders Lee never didn't sell." And you know, Eddie's talking about 4,000 tickets sell. Listen, I don't know if any of you were there. I was there at Lee Saunders. I know what a crowd looks like. I know that there wasn't 4,000 people there. I'd say there was between 6,000 and 7,000 people there. As regards to tickets actually sold, I don't know the actual figure of actual tickets sold, but I know the crowd wasn't too dissimilar from when Crawler fought Perez too.
It's only because half the armed forces were there.
Well, listen, either way, but I'm just saying. Listen, half these shows in America, right? You know, half these shows in America, they fucking rent the crowds. They do. That's true, isn't it? They rent the crowds for some of the PBC shows. This is what I've been told. That I'm not saying everyone in the crowd's fucking rented. I'm saying that there's a proportion of people in there that have either had free tickets or they've come through some sort of, you know, who are not actual boxing fans. That's what I've been told. Whether that's 100% true or not, I don't know. But I asked Warren about the sale of Lee Saunders. We know that Lee Saunders didn't sell accordingly to plan. It should have sold because the card was quite decent and the main event on paper was decent. So it should have at least hit double figures. That Lee Saunders should have at least have had like 9,000-10,000 people in it. So it didn't. So people want me to go up to Frank Warren and start basically ripping them about why this is. Now, why should I fucking do that? What am I going to then, every time a show doesn't sell well, whether it's Hearn, Warren, Hennessy, whoever, do I have to start doing the same thing? Because like I said, not every event sells well. In fact, more events don't sell according to plan than do. So, I don't know.
Well, we've been joined by Mr. Sean Brown from Boxing Scene.
Hey, Sean. Is he there?
Unmute yourself, Sean. I can see the picture.
Who's that one with the woman? Who's that picture?
That's me. That's my missus.
That's Andy's missus.
Okay, fair enough.
Can I just ask you something quickly, Kugan?
He's back on.
Who's the CEO of the company? Is it you or James?
What? Say that again.
Who's I can't get the words with.
Who's the CEO of iFilm? Because Michelle Joy Phelps is the CEO of Behind the Gloves, despite the fact that she doesn't have a board of directors or shares or stocks or anything. But she's the CEO. What do you class your job role? What do you class your role as at IFL?
Okay, listen. My job title at IFL.
You're the gaffer, though, aren't you?
No, I'm not. Listen,
you're the gaffer. You're James's gaffer, aren't you, mate? Come on.
Listen. Listen. The first video we ever done, which is actually with a comedian. It's nothing to do with boxing. The first video on iFilm London IFL TV is me and James were both involved in that. So we started this together. As regards to shares, and we're a limited company, blah 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 blah. He owns half, I own the other half. It's split exactly down the middle.
What does Sonny get?
CEO. What's that?
What does Sonny get?
Sonny gets a Milky Way.
Kugan, we've got Sean Brown on the line for Boxing Scene. Alright, Sean, how you doing, bud?
Not bad, yeah.
Got some
Hello,
comments.
Sean.
All right, mate. How we going?
Take it away, Sean.
I just wanted to basically say that rather than have a rant on fucking Twitter, I'll just stay it fucking here, you know. I've been doing this now for about 7 years, I think, and you'd be fucking lucky if I've made off this a part-time wage.
Most I've made off it is a fucking 40 quid.
Aye. Well, basically, what I make for boxing scene per year would probably get me to 2 shows. That's it.
Yeah, Sean, do you know what? That doesn't surprise me in the absolute slightest, because there's no fucking money in boxing as it is unless you're like just forget what we do for the moment. Just talk about the actual boxers' purses. Unless you're at the top end of it, and I'm talking about pay-per-view, Anthony Joshua, all this bollocks. Unless you're earning that sort of money, the money that the rest of them get, 70-80% of them get, probably more than that, 90% of them get, is fuck all. So then when you break it down to bottom of the, like, what we do, or how you try and earn money out of actually, like, promoting fights, or, you know, writing about fights, doing videos about fights, there is no fucking money in it. There's no money in it anywhere. So for someone to try and actually make a 7 days a week living out of it is impossible. And you know that.
But what pisses me off is I've got a lot of respect for people like Steve Bunce, right? He was somebody back in the day that I used to look up to. He's a great fucking writer, but when he slags people off who do it from the web, that have got jobs, families, kids, who then travel to shows and basically make no money from it, and are doing it for the love of the fucking game, which boils my piss when I hear that. It winds me up. If people like me weren't doing what we do for not a lot of money, where would boxing coverage be? If there was no boxing scene, if there was no first class boxing, if there was no IFL TV, if there was no bloody blah, where would it be? It'd be on its fucking arse, because the only shows that papers cover are the big fucking shows. Can, Joshua, Haye, like, they don't go to fucking York Hall. They don't go to hotel shows. They don't go to Dennis Hobson promotion, Steve Wood show. I would like to get there, but where I stay, which is in the fucking sticks in Scotland, for me to get to, say, a show in Manchester, which I'll be going to Frampton Quig, it's going to set me back somewhere in the region of about 400 quid. Now, if I was to try and do that for every single show, I'd be bankrupt.
Yeah. Do you know what?
But and then people like Steve Bunce say things like that, and he expects people not to fucking go off on one and rant and bite, and he expects people to just say, "Aye, Steve, that's absolutely right. These bastards are pestilence." Is
the word they used, aye.
Yeah, that was the word, because I wrote a thing about it, and like I said, that was the one that got me, which was describing it as a pestilence. But like I said, the problem is like I said, the only way I used to go to shows up until this year all over the country, basically because I had a company car and I just fudged the miles. So if I needed to be in Liverpool for an Echo Arena show, or I wanted to get up to Hull, then I could do it. But I still couldn't get to every event, every presser. And I think when people go mad about when people like Kevin Mitchell or Jeff Powell turn in some ludicrous scorecard, or Jeff Powell writes an interview saying that Khan's fighting Pacquiao in April, and obviously that's a load of rubbish, is because they're not around it every day, whereas the people that were around it every day were writing stuff or producing the video for it, then it would be the quality would be a lot better. But obviously, you Gareth Davis, brilliant writer, but he's tweeting about water polo 10 months of the year. You know, he's not at shows. He's not going to, like, he's not even, forget your York Hall and your hotel stuff. He's not going to you look at the last Birmingham show I was at on Press Row. There was no one there. The Birmingham Mail, Express and Star, a couple of people. Obviously, Kugan doesn't see he's floating around, and that was it. Like I said, there isn't.
I was at Golovkin that night.
Oh right, so was it James that was there? Yeah,
I was at Golovkin. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, there's just not a massive amount of people, but like I said, the people that are involved in it from a professional standpoint who get a proper salary from it, and that's not Mark Butcher, because obviously, you know, Mark was making a different point, but any excuse for the likes of Bunce or Lillis, and I don't have an issue with either of them, but both of them do it.
Well, the thing is,
to have a dig at, not just writers, but obviously they have a dig at all sorts of coverage. And that was the word that Bunce kept using about you, Kugan, was that he said it's not coverage. Which it's just the way they word it is quite disrespectful.
How many of these guys were up the other morning at 8:30 looking for a stream for fucking Anui against Barena?
That's exactly. I was going to say the same thing. The thing is, Sean said the same thing, that without the likes of Sean doing it, I mean, he's done something like 200 articles so far, right, this year, something like that. I think he's done that anyway. But you look at the likes of Jake Donovan, there's a shitload of writing for boxing scene. He's up watching fights from Argentina, Japan and stuff. He's the one that's covering these shows, right? And I'm the same, because I like watching these fights and stuff. Without guys like Sean, Jake Donovan doing these articles, right, you would need to wait until Boxing Monthly came out, until Joe Kazumi actually sent his reporting, like Colin Hartley's done and stuff like that. It's guys like us who actually sit online and watch this shit and write about it. So guys like Bunce can then say, right, okay, I can keep a wee eye on this guy in the future and stuff like that. But he doesn't do it. He just fucking wants to slag you off and fucking tear you down. I tell you another thing, actually. I wouldn't say he's upset. He's a kind of paranoid guy as well, actually. That's my personal opinion on him.
Oh, well. There you go.
I'd like to see him get the sack, to be honest.
Anyway, Sean Brown stole all my writers, so I don't like him anymore.
Stole one of your writers. Fuck yourself.
Like, the minute he left, you know, my phone stopped ringing. I thought I didn't have any friends when Mr. Elliot Foster, who is made a very good IFL appearance with Derry Matthews, actually.
Here, I've just seen I've got you, Sean and Kugan on. Actually, I want to ask you this question. Kugan, this came in for Macho Grande, but Sean came in with Pylon if he's got any info on it. It says, can you ask Kugan about rumoured pay-per-view buys for Bad Intentions being lower than 400,000?
420.
420?
Yeah.
That's not far off Fury's, wasn't Fury around just under half a mil, around half a mil?
Yeah, around half a mil Fury.
Joshua's a monster, isn't he? I can understand I think it's Adam Smith, who's on here, says it best. He says with Matchroom, there's Joshua, and then there's Matchroom. He's just, if he keeps winning, he's there.
400 and just under 420,000 buys for a British title fight is absolutely fucking ridiculous.
So yeah, and like I said, we were talking earlier about pay-per-views on the main podcast, and I was saying April 9th will be pay-per-view. It doesn't matter who he fights. It doesn't matter who he's going to be in with. He'll be pay-per-view.
Sean, you asked a question during earlier on there, actually. Like it was you mentioned about Brook happening about July 4th?
June 4th.
June 4th. I mean, when's Khan going to fight?
Exactly. Because if that fight's to happen, if the only date which Eddie said to me was June 4th for Wembley, Amir is going to have to fight next month.
Yep.
You know, because if you've got a camp that's like, say, I mean, for that fight, that scale, you know, he's going to have a full, proper camp, 12 weeks. He's not going to, you know, I mean, this will be his biggest camp to date, probably. It's his biggest fight to date, if it happens. And I still think it will happen, because Khan is shit at options, basically. I mean, if he ends up fighting somebody like Jesse Vargas or something like that, it's a complete fucking cop-out. But if he does fight Brook on June the 4th, he'll have to fight next month. So if he fights March, any point in March, that's 12 weeks. I
do wonder how big Khan Brook right now really is. Like, because I mean, when Quig Frampton went, I knew that was going to go just because it's been going on for a while, and obviously the amount of travelling fans and how few
Tommy and I
tickets would
said
go
that
on
last
general
week.
sale.
Tommy
But I
and I
don't
said
know.
that last week though that we wouldn't sell it Wembley.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, so everyone thinks of Wembley because of what happened with Foxgroves, but I mean, Kell Brook doesn't sell out the arena. Khan doesn't fight here anymore. Is that fight still, from a outsider point of view, is it as big as we think it is? I don't know.
I think it could be if the show's built right, which it will be with Sky and Matchroom, and the right undercard, they'll release a set number of tickets to start with and see how that goes and build from there.
The thing is with this, when you can't compare this to Quig Frampton, because when Quig Frampton, I think everyone realistically knew that yes, it probably could have done over 20,000, but it was never going to be in a place that was going to be more than 20,000. So that really was an easy sell to try and sell Quig Frampton at 20,000. Brook Khan, I mean, the way it's been talked about for the last 2 years, you're talking a stadium of 50, 60,000. That's what you've got to ask yourself. Does that fight sell that now? Because they're not going to put Brook Khan in a 20,000 seat arena, are they? It's set up for a stadium, but I don't think it probably does Foxgrove's 2 numbers, but it probably does, I don't know, what does it do, 40, 50,000?
50,000, aye.
Yeah, I think, because like I said, everyone forgets with Foxgroves too that it was the perfect concoction of one of, a real great world champion. The first fight, which was just, I mean, a lot of people, the worst thing with that fight is a lot of people forget how good the first 6 rounds were because of the stoppage. I mean, just a stunning fight. And then, the build up to it, like I said, and the controversial stoppage, the would he, wouldn't he have won, it had everything. And there hasn't been a fight since or after that's had it. So I just don't know. Like I've said that, but then again, it's Matchroom, isn't it? Hearn made the point of if he had Lee Saunders, he'd have sold out the arena. And as much as this on the podcast, Hearn takes a bit of a shellacking, you can't really disagree with that. I think he people look at the darts the last couple of weeks. I mean, I'm saying from a business model of just how they sell stuff. I mean, I reckon that if they put the mind to it, they could probably do Wembley for Brook Khan, because he'd build it right.
I sat at New Year dinner today, right, with my entire family, and my father and my brother-in-law sat and spoke about darts for half an hour. I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah, but I imagine if you start talking about Thailand straw weights, then they probably want to kill themselves as well. So
I've been having a comment with them about that, so they're not going to Thailand straw weights, fucks. Japanese is probably my best.
So people say that. So the biggest fight available this year, Brook Khan, but then I think that something like Joshua Haye or Joshua Fury does more numbers than Brook Khan, doesn't it?
Yeah. Joshua Fury is the biggest fight that can be made in Britain, by including international opponents.
Well, wait a minute. We need to see what Haye's fucking got first. I mean, Haye's been out the ring for 3 years. You just can't say Haye's going to walk in, beat Demore.
I was going to say, Kugan, are you the official broadcaster for David Haye, since he doesn't seem to have one?
Well, is that official?
Let's just see what Haye's got first. Okay, he's been in the ring for 3 years and done fuck all.
What he's got is
going to be massive, man. That's going to be a huge fight.
What David Haye's got is a big arena with no cameras at the moment, so we'll have to see how that pans out the next 2 weeks.
He's banned on YouTube. Is that 100%?
No, it's nothing. Nothing's confirmed. They were saying it's an option that they make, because they've got there's if you were a TV network, would you be willing, a proper TV network that is, would you be willing to give up an hour schedule for a fighter who was pulled out of 3 of his last 4 fights?
Yes. Come on, David Hayes' money, eh? You take the gamble, don't you?
But the thing is, as I says,
he's money, man. He's money. Like,
if he's still injured, though, I mean, if it's legit about the shoulder and stuff like that, I mean, you just don't know.
I drove to Germany for Klitschko Haye, and I was a big Haye fan, but I just don't think anyone. I think he sold. I said that earlier. That woman from the O2 was saying that they'd sold a decent amount of tickets for it, but I think it just shows the lack of interest in the fight itself.
On its arse.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, like I said, I mean, Goodwin's lads will probably sell a few tickets on the undercard, but there's just no buzz about it. Nobody cares. And
Billy Dibb's off the. He's the chief support. He's off it.
Oh well, that's the card ruin. Then we lost Billy Dibb.
Who's it? Shane. There's no Shane Singleton. Is it someone else?
Yeah,
against John.
Are you going to that, Kugan? Are you going to the Haye fight?
Do you know what? I'm going on holiday.
Oh, see, not even IFL want to go.
Well, no, I've been booked to go on holiday because I thought January was going to be a quiet month. I knew that Groves was fighting at the end of the month, so I decided to go on a holiday in the middle, the middle of January for 10 days, and that is now over the Haye period. So James is going to be doing that.
Who are you off to?
What?
Who are you going? Who are you going on holiday?
Where am I going?
Yeah.
South Africa.
That's all right, man. That's nice. That's nice. You can't hide money, eh?
South Africa. Going to going there for 10 days.
Is that to like one of the Russian resorts? In a place. Yes, I'm serious. There's a lot of Russians out there.
Oh, I don't know. I had a place of Russians in there, like.
Fucking right, man.
Especially up north Norway.
Here, if Lee Selby was to fight Josh Warrington at Elland Road,
oh fuck.
How many? I know. Hang on. How many does that do?
Right, I'll tell you one thing actually, just before we get on to that one, did you see Binder's article on BBC the day?
Oh, the top 10 fights,
He put Josh Warrington and Lee Selby as a top 10 super fight.
Nah, no danger.
That was the title, a super fight. I'm like, oh fuck.
He's a good writer, but sometimes, what an unfortunate name, Benders. But no, Josh. I mean, that fight. I just think about the aftermath from when Josh Warrington gets stood on his head in 6 rounds, and you've got 30-odd thousand Leeds fans. I just imagine you'd have to literally have an armed guard to get Selby and Sanigar out of there, wouldn't you?
See the way you look at it, right? If you look at the David T against Derek Chisora fight, that made national news. That was actually just nearly world news, wasn't it? And it done it under 30,000 fans at Upton Park, didn't it? So see when people see that these fights are going to do this, that Can Brook's going to do 80,000 at fucking Wembley, I just don't see it. I don't see it. If Haye Chisora's only doing 30,000 and that's a massive fight, these guys aren't going to do the numbers, are they?
I think it depends on the fight, because I mean I've been to 2 Warrington fights, and I mean the numbers are incredible that show up for his, and then some of the fights he's been in haven't exactly been, you know, setting the world on fire, matchmaking wise. He's not the most exciting fighter to watch either, but certain fighters just have big followings, and certain fights just don't seem to. It's the same as everything, really.
You know what? The only thing I'll say, Warrington and Selby is one of the fights, right, where I've never ever been convinced that this does 30, 35, 40,000, right? Never been convinced of that. And I know about, obviously, Warrington's fucking fan base in Leeds is phenomenal for, you know, for someone that literally a year and a half ago, 2 years, hadn't even won a Commonwealth title or anything. He's done remarkably well. The fan base is there, but Warrington Selby over 30,000. I don't know, because don't forget when Campbell and Coyle they originally said Campbell and Coyle would do these numbers in Hull, and Campbell and Coyle done what, 15,000 in the end at that place, but they were talking about that fight being 30,000, blah blah blah. But I'm not convinced about that crowd number for Warrington and Selby.
Do you know what though? I just don't like when football stadiums get. Do you know the kind of people that think football stadiums are great for boxing? Are people that have never been to a boxing show in a football stadium. Like I saw the other day, people talking about Bellew Lebedev at Goodison Park. I couldn't imagine a worse football ground. Nothing wrong with Everton as a club, but you know, a football ground that's 100 years old with restricted views, with really limited access because it's in the middle of the. I couldn't football.
Let me ask a serious question. Does Hearn really make Bellew against Lebedev? Seriously?
I think he would rather make Bellew
Ramirez.
Exactly.
There's no Lebedev fight, gentlemen.
I just don't think Lebedev's the kind of killer that he used to be. I mean, I'm not saying he still beat Bellew because every world champion would, because Bellew's just not at that level. But I think he'd rather make the fight now than 2-3 years ago.
Sean,
Do you know what?
you were going to say something, mate.
Was that?
Just before Paul started speaking there again.
Oh, I forgot now.
Anyways,
Fucking
Kugan.
Paul.
Do you know what? With any of these stadium fights, though, I think there needs to be something else rather than it's a great fight. And, you know, there's got to be... That Frost Groves 2 thing was a complete fluke, yeah? It should not have attracted in excess of 75,000 people at Wembley. But as it was said before, whoever said it before, the lead on from the first fight, it had every ingredient that led into that crowd being 70-odd thousand people there. Now, just to pick two fighters, which is a good fight on paper, and to expect it to attract 40, 50, 60,000 people at a stadium, I think is a little bit, like I said, a little bit far-fetched. But listen, I don't know. They know more than us who put the events on, apparently, so I don't know. But
the best place is the stadium in Bolton. At least HMRC would love it there anyway, put it that way.
But I think the fights they're talking about, I think out of all of them, if they're talking about Joshua potentially fighting either Fury or Haye, I think that's a safe bet to be put in a stadium to reach, not too far off numbers. Brook Khan is the other fight. Other than Brook Khan and Joshua versus Fury or Haye, I don't see another fight potentially that can really hit numbers. Like I said, the Haye versus Chisora thing is a brilliant example. They hit that at exactly the right time. The fight happened in July. The big brawl happened in February. There was 4 months in between that. They hit that at the right time, but I think that had about between 30 and 35,000. Now, that's Haye and Chisora. That was front page news. That had everything else as well. But like I said, the only two potential fights that can attract these numbers, I'd say is a safe bet. Brook Khan and, like I said, either Joshua versus Haye or Fury. Other than that, I think it's a massive gamble to be putting any of these things in and the Lee Saunders thing, that kind of told the picture because, Limerick, I remember talking to Adam Booth at the first press conference at Limerick, and they were expecting that to, hit in excess of 30,000 people at Limerick at that stadium, and Lee Saunders, regardless of what the crowd was, on paper, for a world title, is a massive fight. It should have attracted more people than that were there, but unless that fight captures the imagination, then numbers are not going to happen. So,
Lee Saunders was badly advising because we had a guy on here for Limerick not long after the fight got postponed for the fight at the stadium actually, and he says there was not even a bit of interest in that running about there. Wasn't even advertised or anything like that either.
Well, it's things like hotels and access and all that kind of thing as well, isn't it? I think if you put a fight a bit out of the way, it's like I said, that's what the problem I think that they had with Hull. It's not like it's London or Manchester where it's easy enough to get into. I mean, certain cities I think are just harder sells than others. Everyone bangs on about how good Liverpool is as a city, but I mean, the amount of times I've been to shows in Liverpool, big even matchroom shows, Warren shows, where half the echo's curtained off or it's empty. I think there aren't that many shows that sell like people think they do.
No, that's 100% true. And like I said, Fielding versus Smith, that done decent numbers for it was, but it's entitled to. And putting it in a place that hold, what does the Echo hold? 10,000?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a realistic push to put that in the Echo for that Smith Fielding. That's quite sensible. If you put Smith Fielding, not that it would be, it's a Liverpool thing, but I'm saying if you put that at the MEN, does that do 20,000? Probably not. If you try and get 40,000 for Quig Frampton, does it do that? Does it do that?
Could, I think. I think it could.
Probably. The way the tickets went, always a good...
If they went, aye.
I mean, they could put it in a 40,000. StubHub would buy 33,000 of the tickets anyway, so the tickets would go, but Whether they'd all be in the arena, I suppose, would be a different thing.
Have you seen how dear the ringside seats are for Haye's fight? I only saw that.
£1,000,
yesterday.
isn't it?
£1,000.
£1,200 ringside,
Just a fucking
right?
joke.
And
Yeah.
you know what? Service charge £120.
Yeah.
For
But you
price.
get some nice canapes. But like I said, that's what I mean. That's with Warren in the past. I've always thought his pricing structure was wrong, but the recent shows have been a lot better. And I think that people think boxing is just such as a fan. I mean, I'm going to Quickframpton as a fan. I mean, I wanted to go. I was going for the weekend, and we've got the tickets I got were £66, and I'm in block 206 of the MEN Arena. Like, I'll be at the back. I think it's just for even small hall stuff. It's just a really expensive sport to watch, and then you get fighters like Haye, or obviously he's not priced it, but the fact that there is a certain VIP crowd that will pay anything. I mean, I remember when Frochgrove's 2 tickets, £1,500 for VIP, and I interviewed Eddie Hearn at the time, and he did say, you know what? He says we put a cap on it, but we could have made it anything. There are certain people who will, and you see them at shows. Like I said, it's always the lads in suits with the bit on the side, and you know they drop thousands to go to them. They don't even care about the fight. A lot of them, it's just to be there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much the tickets are. The ringside seats for Quickframpton, I'm assuming, are quite high as well.
That was a joke.
I don't know.
They were
How much
800.
are they?
Those tickets.
800.
Those tickets were a fucking disgrace, man. I never knew anybody that actually sat online and managed to get tickets right at the start of the sale.
The VIP ones were 800, but the reason that was a massive cock-up was because the Frampton's lot had half the tickets, so they never went on general sale. So there was only like 9,000 tickets, and they obviously all went instantly. Then you end up with like 2,000 on StubHub. So, but so they were £800. I mean, we know people, you know, people like Matt Bowles and others and Brian King. I mean, Brian King's forked out £800 for a VIP ticket. I mean, people will pay it. It could have been £1,000, and he probably would have still paid it.
Do you know what's going to be interesting to see how Floyd Mayweather's fucking tickets go on this thing? Because
I see that.
He's cancelled more tours over here though than David Hayes cancelled fights. I mean, I saw the pricing because they were going to come to Warsaw last year, and I saw they're going to Birmingham at the Vox, and I thought, for a laugh, I'll have a look how much it is, because obviously I wouldn't mind. I mean, I like watching him fight. I mean, if you get a chance to meet him, but you know, like 550 odd quid. The London one's like £1,000 for the photo one. I mean, the promoters that put on a lot of these like dinner, sit down and meet and greet things, I don't know what money they think people would spend on something like that. But I mean,
you know the problem with half these things, because obviously, you know, I've spoke to a lot of people over the last few years that have put on these events where they've the meet and greets with fighters and that, and you know, I went to one about 10 years ago when Tyson came over here, and they were charging like, I think I'll give about £250 for a dinner, like a black tie dinner thing with Tyson, and I think it was one of the first times he actually came over for one of these things, and you couldn't meet him, like you could not meet him, so you paid to listen to him talk, and then but you couldn't like get a picture, nothing like that. You just literally sat down there, meal, listened to him talk. There was an auction, and then that was your money. And that was like 10 years ago. That was, I think, 2006 or 2005. I went to a Joe Frazier one, but again, they're different because I went to a Joe Frazier one, and you did get to meet him. You did get to have a picture down with him, and I don't even think that was that dear. I think that was about 150 quid. And I think them events, and that was in like the Park Lane in Hilton, the Park Lane Hilton. So, but now you're talking about if you want to go to one of these events with the Floyd Mayweather thing, to actually meet him or to actually have a picture done with him, it's about 650 quid in some of them. I mean, I don't know what money they think people have got here for, boxing fans who are like, no disrespect, but they don't want to be giving £20 for a fucking pay-per-view, let alone paying £650 to have a picture done with Floyd Mayweather. So,
yeah, Kugan, I've got a question, just because I need to get to my bed, man. It's almost 2 o'clock out here. You got any contact details for Roberto Duran, no?
Not really.
No, because I remember you speaking to him once, because I'm hoping to try and get away for a wee trip, I forget, down to Panama or something like that, maybe just popping his heel, old man, Hey, I fucking what the he's the only fighter that actually go and chap his door.
Mate, the amount of stick you've given the WBA, there's no way that the Panama Customs will let you in that country.
Well, true, but no, it's the only fighter that actually cold step actually would be Duran,
Yeah, I mean, Duran though, he's one of them people, right? Who I don't know. He pretends he doesn't talk English.
He does.
He does talk English because I've interviewed him twice before. I interviewed him about 4 years ago, and he spoke really good English. And then when I tried to
understands it pretty well as well.
He understands it, and I interviewed him recently at the Golovkin fight, and just refused to talk any English whatsoever. So
I'll take him a good bottle of whiskey, maybe like a Balvenie Caribbean cask 14-year-old whiskey or something like that, and I'll loosen the tongue up a wee bit. Got it all planned.
Oh well.
But what's happening with this fight? Is this fight still going to go ahead or what?
What one?
Away. Tommy.
Where's Tommy now?
He's away in bed, mate.
Tommy's fell asleep.
Tommy's gone, hasn't he?
Yeah, you must be on the fucking marching powder still be awake at this time, sir, because I've almost done 3.5 hours podcasting tonight, and for fuck all pay.
We need a sponsor.
Do you know what?
Can you have a word with MGM Marbella and see if they want to sponsor a podcast?
Oh, I'm actually speaking to Sam Kinnick actually in an interview in this podcast, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, so...
I've been asleep all day, that's why I'm up now.
Ah, right.
I watched the football. No. I watched Everton, Tottenham and Chelsea and Crystal Palace. Apart from that, I've been asleep all day, that's why I'm up.
The EPL's so overrated, man. So overrated.
But yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it is when you're a Villa fan.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh well.
Well, cheers for that, Cougs. Hopefully you and Tommy will sort it out when you see each other, but I'm sure everything will be fine.
We'll have to have a nice little reunion at Quickframpton.
Aye.
We'll have a reunion. We'll document it as well. So
definitely.
Just
who's the Villa fan? Who's the Villa fan?
Paul.
That's me.
Paul, you're on it. Paul.
Yeah.
That fucking goal. That's the best goal I've seen this season.
I know. It's the problem with Villa is it's like moments of. There are certain players on that team, and those two are the best ones where they just have moments of excellence, and then 10 minutes later we're 3-1 down. But that goal was immense. When you see Traore run at people, and that Carlos Gil, like I said, Carlos Gil deserves to be playing for a much better team than Aston Villa. That finish was absolutely superb.
That was one of the best finishes I've ever seen. He had no right to even make contact with that ball, let alone fucking hook it in the net. Unbelievable.
It was stunning. Well, we must have cut the pod. I mean, I was at Wembley for the Villa Arsenal disaster.
Oh, live, dickhead.
Well, you have to cut it. We're talking football now, people. But it was just like I said, we're sailing to the Championship, so you're welcome. Lots of good clubs will take some of our players, but just think we could have sold Agbonlahor to you lot about 10 years ago for a lot of money. Should have taken.
I wish we had, because he fucking terrorised Arsenal's defence for about 5 years. So.
Yeah, and now he just terrorises KFC.
All right,
well, I'm going.
It's been fun. So, are you all going to Quickframpton?
I'm going. Tommy's going.
Yeah.
Alex going. Paul. Steve's going. I think Adam's going as well. So quite a few,
Yeah, everyone but Kurt, because he's not allowed outside his house.
All right. Well, listen, we'll have a meet up at Quickframpton Sunny next month, so I'll be there all week. So.
Awesome stuff. We'll do that.
No probs.
Definitely.
You're not going to do the little outro, Andy? Thank you for listening to blah, blah, blah.
It's 10 to 2, and I've got to be up with the Bairn at 6:30 in the morning, so I'm away in bed.
Right. See you later, guys. Cheers for listening, everybody.
All right. See you later on.